Welcome back to another Commander Deck Tech. My name is Scott and the Phyrexian train still keeps coming. Alright, so Geth, Thane of Contracts is my new deck. Reanimator, I love. If you've seen a lot of my other videos, you'll know that I love Reanimator strategies. I think Chainer, Dimension Master, fantastic Reanimator commander for mono black. I said this in my review of Obi-Wan, but with Geth, it does provide a different angle when it comes to reanimation. It's a bit slower, I guess, but what I found is this one actually kind of ended up more toolboxy, which I kind of enjoy. Chainer can be very samey. You're just kind of going for your combo because once Chainer's gone, then they're all gone. So I found with Geth, I was very toolboxy. It allowed me to play with a variety of different creatures. I was going for different creatures each and every time, depending on what was happening on the board. So I really enjoyed that. It is a bit slower though. That's the thing, right? Because you have to wait for this tap ability. But other than that, it's been a lot of fun. So let's go through the deck. Obviously, important to note that other creatures I control do get -1/-1. Now, overly not too relevant, but there are some cards where it will be relevant. I guess the idea is that you are going for big, fat creatures, where the -1/-1 doesn't really matter too much. It's more about just being able to tap and pay 3 to reanimate. Okay, so let's go through the deck. Great Merchant of Asphodel. Straight off, these are some of the reanimation targets I want to go for. Of course, Great Merchant of Asphodel. Great win condition. Comes in Devotion. Geth is, 2 pips, which is great, as well as this. And, of course, all my other creatures. Plenty of black permanents in this deck, so Devotion is high. So, Great Merchant of Asphodel, one of the win cons. Okay, Grave Titan. So Grave Titan, really, really cool. Probably one of the weaker picks, but sometimes I need to just build a board. I can go for Grave Titan, has Death Touch. I don't really care about the -1/-1, but those zombies are going to come in, be nice blockers. Massacre Worm. I've been really enjoying Massacre Worm. I think it's really shot up in favor for me. Lots of pesky creatures where that -2/-2 can be quite relevant. And then, of course, starting to form some life loss, which is really nice. Brainstealer Dragon, just a fun card. With Geth, you really wanted to focus on enter the battlefield or maybe end of turn kind of triggers, not something that's really attack, because then you kind of have to wait for your turn. So there's no real attack creatures in here. But with this one, really, really nice. Just comes in and it's going to give me those cards. And you're going to get a little bit of, value if you are going to play those cards. But essentially, you're going to get everything off, one thing off each opponent's libraries, which is really, really nice. And of course, if it can stay here, and it's a nice flying dragon. Archfiend of Despair, one of the big shots. Of course, opponents can't gain life, and then your opponents are going to lose life equal to the amount they lost. If you have watched any of my videos, you know I'm a massive fan of Wind Reflection. So being able to play it on a creature, it's been really, really great. Of course, it's a reanimation, so we want these effects on creatures more so than anything. So I do love going for this card. This one's kind of can be quite generic. If the board is not really presenting something where another card like a Massacre Worm might be beneficial, I can just go for something like this. And then Archon of Cruelty, just a really powerful card. This one's, I think, the only one that's on attack, but of course it has that enter battlefield trigger, which is really, really nice. It's just going to create a lot of value. It's going to give us some draw. It's going to give us some life gain, which is really nice. So I've been really liking Archon of Cruelty in reanimation strategies. And then Villous Broker of Blood, another of the biggest, where, losing life, we're going to be drawing cards. There's lots of life loss effects in this deck. So this just really, really hits home. It combos well with Reanimate, spoiler, in the deck. So being able to just reanimate this for 1 and then draw 8 cards, fantastic. But yeah, just there for card draw as well as be huge, and a little bit of removal to get rid of some pesky creatures. Okay, so how are we going to reanimate? Of course, we're not going to rely entirely on Geth. It is a tap ability. You know, not really the greatest, but it's nice to have it on our commander, just so that we have the option. But of course, we're going to try and go for other reanimation effects, ones that are a bit more mana efficient, like reanimate, great with Villas, but essentially, you know, that 1 mana just gets something onto the battlefield, really nice. Animate dead, of course, we want to be as efficient as possible. Now, of course, our creature's going to get -1 with and zero toughness, so your creature's gonna be -2, -1, I guess, with Geth, but you know, that really doesn't matter. We're playing these creatures for their on the battlefield effect, so really efficient. Persist, great, because this is toolboxy. You know, you don't have a lot of legendary creatures in this one. It's a good mix, so persist will get stuff, of course, -1, -1, but that's okay, we don't mind. Stitch together, love this card. Of course, it can return the creature to your hand, but that's not what we're playing it for. We just need seven cards in our graveyard. Very easy to do. It's a bit more of a mid to late game kind of reanimation spell, but here in the deck, fantastic. Doomed Necromancer. So this one, another one where it's like a creature has to tap, but it can sacrifice itself, and of course I can bring that back with reanimation spells, so you have that kind of loop going. Of course, there is Apprentice Necromancer, but that is a 1/1 and will just die with Geth. So I've got Doomed Necromancer, which has been nice, and of course Chainer, probably the best reanimation effect out there. Do note, anything it brings back will be nightmares. If Chainer dies, then those nightmares go. So, you know, you really have to play this one by ear, but great reanimation effect. Incarnation Technique, probably one of my favorite, right? Because it mills, which is what we want, and reanimates, which is also something we want, right? So these are just two really good effects. I think mill 5 is generally pretty good. We have a lot of good chances to hit something, so that's great. But of course you do have to demonstrate, but your opponents aren't really playing around with mill, or they, you know, you're going to pick somebody that's not really playing around with mill, or might not have a lot of creatures. So the demonstrate usually is not that detrimental to you, because of course you're reanimating things like Villas and Archon of Cruelty, right? Well, that's what you're hoping for anyway. So I like to at least set up my graveyard at least for one really good guaranteed hit, and then let the roulette wheel spin. Fantastic spell. Demon of Dark Schemes, another one that's kind of like a toolboxy, helps with Massacre Worm, of course, because it does the similar effect of -2, -2. Of course, your creatures will be -1 with Geth, so you know you got to keep that in mind. But we are getting energy, and that energy can then be used to reanimate, and we don't have to tap for this, so really nice. Just as a reanimation. Ancient Brass Dragon, a great one to itself reanimate. I guess this one is an attack where it has to do combat damage, but a lot of fun rolling d20, and of course this one can get from any graveyard, that even your opponents, right? So you're gonna have a lot of options to pick and choose, so a lot of fun. Really great. Like, you don't play this in a chainer deck. This is what I mean, where it's like you get a lot of different variety and options. Sepulchral Primordial, another one where it comes in, gets something from opponents' graveyards. Of course, their graveyards probably won't be suited necessarily for reanimation, but you know, sometimes they're just going to have this nice juicy creature in. You can't really help it, but Sepulchral Primordial to get them out, and of course then you have an instant board. Shieldred Whispering One, you know, we've got to have the queen of reanimation, I guess. Shieldred is, when it stays on the board, it really starts to snowball, which is great. Of course, this one is a removal magnet, so it can be more of a late game thing, but it is sacrificing the creatures for your opponents, so that you can then reanimate them with Sepulchral Primordial and things like that, right? So it kind of feeds into that, as well as helps with that reanimation. And then Rise of the Dark Realms, the late game finisher, as well as Grey Merchant of Asphodel. This one can come in and just be like that huge win condition. Either with bringing Grey Merchant Vessel and a whole bunch of other creatures, or of course, bringing back everything and then hopefully, trying to make it to the end next turn so you can swing out. But really, really great card, Mass Reanimation. Okay, so we've got targets, we've got how we're going to get them out of the graveyard. Now we have to work out how to put them in the graveyard. Now, black is really great at these entomb style effects, i.e. searching your library and putting them straight into the graveyard so that we can reanimate them. So entomb, instant speed, the most efficient of these effects. We're just going to search for a card straight, put it into a library, into a graveyard. Unmarked Grave, again, not too many, a good mix of legendary and non-legendary. So we've got targets for this one. Archon of Cruelty being a great one, of course. Buried Alive, another one where the essentially three entombs, just not instant speed, but these ones are creatures, but of course that's what we want. Just really, really great to get this down, start getting Geth down, to start reanimating. I like to try to have an 8 on 6 mana, have Geth down, Buried Alive, then reanimate, so that people don't see what options I have available for a long period of time. It's all in one turn. That's how I like to do it. Of course, you need 6 mana. Tauric Lawmage. So this one taps to entomb a card. Of course, if it's an instant or sorcery, you get +1, but that never happens. I'm going straight for a creature. It's nice just to have this on a stick, entombing every turn. Then Vile Entomber. Great, because this one's a nice death touch, so it can block, which is really, really nice, and then entomb. So you get a nice little package for that 4 mana. Corpse Connoisseur, so you have to pay the 5 mana up front, which is a bit costly, but it has Unearth for 4, so a little bit cheaper. The good thing about this one is you get 2 goes at it, and if we mill this over or discard it, then we can still utilize it, so that's really, really nice. Gravebreaker Lamia, lifelink 4/4, whatever. We want all the entomb effects that we can put in. We're starting to get to the ones that are more expensive and less efficient. Spells cast from your graveyard cost 1 less, not really relevant in this deck. It's more about I just want to enter the battlefield and entomb something. Then Burning Rage Demon. So it's a 6/6 huge flyer. It is something that I can entomb to reanimate to entomb more another thing, right? So we're going to get 2 things with 2 different names. That's Commander. That's fine. You're just going to choose 2 big creatures. Your opponent chooses one of them to go on the graveyard, and one into the hand, right? So it doesn't really matter. You're just going to pick 2 of the best things, and it's going to really make their choice invalid. So really, really nice. Okay, so we've got entomb effects. So to couple with entomb, we've got mill. Now, black is not really that great with mill in my experience. That's more of a blue thing, but there are some cards that really help, which is why I focus more on entombs. But I have got some mill strategy in there to help. Obviously, you've got so you've got what is it? Incarnation technique. That's it. That will do some milling, obviously. But then there's also Stitches Supplier. So Stitches Supplier, really, really interesting. Normally you have to play in a deck where you can kill it, but of course with Geth it's -1/-1, so it will come into the battlefield, mill 3, and then die, and then mill 3. So really, really fantastic, right? So 1 mana mill 6, which I've really liked, has been great. Altar of Dementia. So I don't really have a lot of sack outlets, mainly because it's not really aristocrats kind of reanimation deck. When Geth reanimates them, they'll go into exile, so it's not really about sacrificing those creatures. That's more of a chainer thing, but it does mill. Sometimes someone's going to do a board wipe, someone's going to kill one of your creatures. You might as well get some value off of it, so that's been really, really nice. And of course you can reanimate things not using Geth, so it can be valid. Golgari Thug, apologies. So this one has Dredge 4. So Dredge 4, obviously very strong. When it goes in the graveyard from play, you're going to put a target creature on your graveyard. Of course, this is a 1/1, so you're going to get hit with it going in. It's going to go straight to the graveyard, right? So I don't usually play Dredge because I need a way to actually get it into the graveyard, but with Geth, it's just going to go straight in the graveyard. I'm going to Dredge it. I'm going to Dredge 4 and go from there, right? So it's a 2 mana, mill 4 every turn, right? So quite nice. Mesmeric Orb, one of the best. You know, when a permanent becomes untapped, the permanent controller is going to mill a card. So you're going to mill your opponents. Might be ideal, might not be ideal, but it really is to mill yourself. You know, Mesmeric Orb can get, 10 permanents and you're milling 10, right? Just for this 2 mana. So it's fantastic. Really, really nice to get down early, obviously. Perpetual Timepiece, another one where it's two cards per turn. It comes down and does 2 cards, which I like. And of course, if I need to, someone's exiling my graveyard, then, I can put any of them into my library. So that's a bit of a gotcha there, which is nice to have, but really it's for 2 mana going to give me 2 cards and then continue to give me 2 cards in the graveyard. And then Out of the Tombs. Out of the Tombs has been a really interesting card that I've been playing with, obviously, because I've been playing the Necron Precon, which I've been enjoying. Out of the Tombs is the Phyrexian Arena of Mill, where the earlier it comes down, the better it is, and every turn that it's not down, the worse it gets. I have yet to have the second paragraph be relevant, but really it is to mill, and it really starts to kick off when you're milling 6-8 a turn. Like, you get this down on turn 2, turn 3, whatever. It really starts to kick in the late game, right? And you get a lot of options. So just like Phyrexian Arena, get it down early, it's good. Get it down late, not great. Okay, so that's the mill. Again, not as supported in black. So yeah. And then a little bit of a protection package. We are playing big creatures. We do want to protect them. We want to protect Geth because we want to reanimate. So Malakir Rebirth reanimates. Cool. So on theme, as well as being a land on the other side. Fantastic. Lightning Greaves. We have a few things that want to have haste, including Geth, so nice to have that, and also the protection. And then Swiftfoot Boots, just for, additional redundancy. Nice protection. A bit of Graveyard Hate, Doughty Voidwalker, played in pretty much all my decks. Great for your opponents to have stuff go into exile, which is where we kind of want to put them outside of our Sepulchral Primordial, but I find that Doughty doesn't necessarily have to stay around that long. But of course, you can sacrifice it and play something big, whatever your opponents play, or maybe just get the ramp spell, whatever. A little bit of draw now. With this deck, I've opted for Entombs and Mills as my draw. So I have a little draw package, so definitely not what you would, I guess, normally see. So Night's Whisper, just really simple. Draw 2, lose 2. Sign in Blood, draw 2, lose 2. And then Phyrexian Arena, just like Out of the Tombs. Just something just to kind of give us that value, that draw spell. And then Hostile Negotiations allows it to go into the graveyard. You're going to have those 2 piles. One will go into the graveyard, one will not go into your hand. So just really nice. The Fact of Fiction of black. I really like this card. Yeah, but it's even better now that it goes into the graveyard. Okay. Removal. So removal really has centered around reanimation effects or getting things to the graveyard, stuff like that. So we have Bone Shards. I think probably the best one of this one where we can sacrifice a creature if we need to. Probably not. I usually discard a card, being one of my creatures, to destroy a target creature or planeswalker. Really nice. 1 mana sorcery. That's efficient enough. Feed the Swarm, of course. Get rid of those enchantments. Rest in Peace, or someone's got a propaganda that you can't really swing out to. Plaguecrafter, removal that we can reanimate, which is what we want. It can kind of come in. It can get a creature that I want to reuse that effect. Maybe a Grey Merchant of Asphodel want to reuse. I can put that in. Of course, if you reanimate it with Geth, then once it goes back to the graveyard, it's going to exile. So keep that in mind, obviously. But yeah, just a nice little early reanimation effect if you want to kind of get rid of people's creatures early. Toxic Deluge, board wipe, simple. I don't have too many board wipes in this one because I want to be the problem for people to answer, but you still need some. Hagra Mauling, it's a land on the other side. Bad Murder, but it's a land, which is great. Lethal Schemes has Convoke, which is really, really nice. And then, of course, we're going to Connive, and Connive's really going to support putting those cards from our hand into the graveyard. Mutilate, my other board wipe, playing a lot of swamps. So -1, -1's fantastic. Ravenous Chupacabra, destroys a creature that we can reanimate, which is where some of these later removal spells are essentially on creatures. Just simple, we can reanimate it. Necron Deathmark helps mill, of course, as well as be that effect that we can reanimate, and has nice because that's flash. And then Noxious Gearhulk, a little bit of heal, a little bit of that life gain, which is really, really nice, and of course a creature that we can reanimate. And then Meteor Golem, again, get rid of some of those permanents that are getting in our way, of course, as well as being reanimation target. Okay, some ramp, Dark Ritual, kind of get maybe Geth out early. I do find that maybe I probably don't really go down that line. I'll kind of keep Dark Ritual for I have Geth out, I want to double spell, I want to do something else and get a reanimation. 3 mana is that kind of key number for Geth. Wayfarer's Bauble to get those swamps. Arcane Signet, 2 mana rock. Veil Stone, 2 mana rock. Jet Medallion, a lot of black spells in this one. Mind Stone helps draw a card. Black Market Connection, this pretty much makes it in all my decks. I generally go for the first 2, Create a Treasure and draw a card, which has been really nice value. I find, Shapeshifter I don't need as much in this deck. Then Bogwitch. Bogwitch is an interesting little ramp card. It facilitates pretty much everything in Reanimator, right? You want to discard the card that is the creature that you want to reanimate. Then you get 3 mana, which pays for Geth, right? So really, really nice. Now, this one is a 1/1, so you got to keep that in mind, that this is not really around for when Geth is here. But if you need, you can have that mana in your pool. Maybe you have a haste Geth, something like that. You can really utilize it. But here it's to allow things to go from my hand to the graveyard. We have a lot of Entomb effects and a lot of mill effects, but we need it's stuck in my hand now to get it. So, try to work out how you're going to play this one. Patriarch's Seal, really interesting one. So it's 3 mana rock, not something I normally play, but for one it untaps. So essentially untaps Geth, which is important. It is a legendary creature, right? So if I want to double reanimate, I can do so. So something more for the late game, but it's good to have that option. Cryptghast has Extort, which is really, really nice, as well as doubling our swamps, which we have a lot of, and Solemn Simulacrum, just nice. Get that value. You could even reanimate it if you really needed to, just to kind of get that ramp going. Just nice value creature. And then lands. So Bojuka Bog, Graveyard Hate. I put it in every deck. You've seen all my videos. It's in every one of them. Just great for Graveyard Hate. Cabal Coffers, play a lot of swamps, so really, really nice for that ramp. Cabal Stronghold, a lot of basic swamps, so great for ramp. Castle Lochthwain, there's a lot of I'm entombing and reanimating, and I'm really trying to use a lot of my spells as early as possible. So Castle Lochthwain, great to kind of get another card going. Mirrored Landscape, I've still got a lot of big creatures. Sometimes you just have to cast them. So Mirrored Landscape's nice for a little bit of land ramp. Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, I have a lot of black permanents. So Devotion is really, really high. So keep that in mind. Strip Mind, always play a land destruction land in my deck. Someone's gonna have the Cabal Coffers, someone's gonna have Nykthos. So really, really nice against those cards. Takanuma, Abandoned Mire. So it will get cheaper with Geth, which is nice. It mills, also great. This one will bring it to our hands. Sometimes, I want to, get it out of the graveyard. I want to play it from my hand. Maybe I haven't got Geth out or reanimation spell. I can just kind of double up on that creature effect again. So it has been nice. Tomb Fortress, reanimation on a land. Seems pretty good. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, make everything swamps. Great for, you know, our black mana that we need to produce, as well as Walk Offers and Mutilate. And then War Room, tap this and 3. Pay 1 life, which I'll gladly pay for a card if I need it. And then 25 swamps. So yeah, that's the deck. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. It's definitely your kind of local LGS reanimator. It's not really you know, it's a very casual kind of reanimator, very toolboxy, which is what I've liked. Not as you know, explosive as Chainer. Can be slow to set up because you need to set up Geth, you need to set up Entombs, and then go from there, or maybe some mills or something like that, right? But we have like between mills and Entombs like 14 cards, so we're going to see some of those effects. So it's really about setting them up and then hoping that your big creatures kind of you know, keep you safe. So yes, that's the deck. A lot of fun, really interesting reanimation style, and I've been having a blast with it, and I hope you do too. Thanks for watching.